My name is Mike Blum. I am most recently the Chief Commercial Officer of Homology Medicines. I have been working in the rare disease space for about 20 years on the commercial side, and with a heavy focus on patient access. Yeah, I mean, access can mean a lot of things, right? And when we talk about commercialization, that's usually the end of the process. But there's a lot that goes into when a product comes into a country for the first time. That's education, that's partnership, that's finding somebody who's willing to run a trial, that's somebody who can execute the trial, that's maybe a local company that can help a manufacturer abide by all the rules and regulations of that country, and then ultimately work through the regulatory approval process, and all the while having a conversation about what commercialization really looks like. How well do we know the disease? Can we categorize that for a government? Can we explain to them how many patients may be involved, how many patients they'd be responsible for, and then ultimately translate that whole conversation into a value equation that makes sense for reimbursement. Well, I think gene therapy probably provides an interesting opportunity when it comes to treatments in places that haven't had treatments before. So in many cases it's one-time treatment, and today it's very expensive. But I think as we go forward, we can continue to try to find ways not only to develop these products in a feasible economic manner, but manufacture them and get to a place where the costs that we see today with one-time treatments may not be the cost that we see tomorrow with one-time treatments. And I think that's the goal, and that would really open up doors to access and opportunity for patients, especially in places like India. I really think the sky's the limit. When you think about a place like India, you think about technology, and you think about the ability to manufacture just about anything. And that certainly translates into the types of products that we're talking about here today at IndoUSrare. But I think in my experience, where I've seen it happen in countries for the first time is the education process and a willingness to collaborate. And that's really kind of everything from the disease state to what the treatment can really bring to patients. And I think from a regulatory process, manufacturers have to find ways to fit their product into the language of that local regulatory body. Well, I see the advocacy organizations as a huge resource, and a huge resource on a couple of levels. First of all, there's not anybody that knows more about a certain disease state than folks that are affiliated with the advocacy group. And they can really talk the talk better than anybody. They have the experience. On the other part to that, when it comes to talking to regulators, talking to governments about any topic, clinical trials, the regulatory process, commercialization, there is no one that can explain the value of the treatment better than an advocacy group. So you have somebody who's not only going to be an expert in the disease state, and then can help educate physicians, medical staffs about that disease state. You have somebody that can actually speak to that disease state on a higher level and really bring a life experience to the conversation with regulators and government agencies in a way that no manufacturer really could. And it just helps to really bring the understanding full circle. I think IndoUSrare has a real opportunity to help manufacturers in terms of companies don't want to go into countries by themselves that they don't have experience. The likelihood of success is low. The expense is usually high. And to find folks that have a real expertise about a local geography and all the components that go into that can be a real asset for a company and can really kind of lower the barriers that some manufacturers put on themselves to go into new countries. And that can mean anything from bringing down the expense, but certainly making the plan better. And that plan can be better both in the short term and definitely in the long term. I think as companies benefit greatly from having a true strong resource in a local company or a local advocacy agency that can guide them through the process in a way that they wouldn't be able to do. You're just going to walk into a lot less walls and I think that's better for everybody. Well, I think, frankly, IndoUSrare has done a great job for me of really spelling out the need. You come into this and, from a commercial perspective, what do we know is that just historically there haven't been a lot of rare disease products that have found availability in a place like India. And for me yesterday was the whole other side of that equation, just talking about the need and the willingness to help. There's a high level of engagement that you pick up when you attend a meeting like IndoUSrare, and that only gives me more confidence that that is a place where companies can do business in the future. I think that coming into this meeting and looking at the information and what the agenda looked like for me, I think IndoUSrare has put a stake in the ground to say this is a place that there's an opportunity, and you companies need to come to meetings like this and learn and really determine, in collaboration with a lot of the experts that IndoUSrare has brought to the meeting, how to find a way to get things done in a place like India where there's a high amount of need and a high willingness to be successful. As a company, building out that's the expense that I was talking about. That's the kind of infrastructure that companies shouldn't feel like they have to bear that burden. Because there is such a high level of expertise in India, that's where a real bridge can happen, if you will. And again, it becomes more of a challenge of making sure that people on the manufacturer side understand that opportunity exists. And that's why it's so important for people like me to come to meetings like this and to get educated by folks like the team that has done at IndoUSrare. I think if you look at a lot, especially smaller companies, which I have a lot of experience in, partnership is part of the business model. And I think for a long time, companies have focused on in very short term in places like North America or Europe, and then kind of move forward based on their success, I think. But the keys to making even something like that happen is you're not going to grow that yourself organically. You're going to find top-notch partners that you believe in that can help you get to your business goals. And I think it's the same with India. Whether it's research, whether it's manufacturing, whether it's executing clinical trials, or ultimately commercializing products, you're going to need that local expertise. And companies, it's not always in their DNA to build that out themselves. A lot of smaller companies have found success by finding great partners. And again, that's what a meeting like this can do for folks, for both the possible partners, but also companies that are seeking that. But I think a meeting like this really pulls that together, but then it makes folks see, okay, what is the North Star? What does success look like down the road? And I think a meeting like this, IndoUSrare, can really spell it out for you in terms of there may be an opportunity there in a place where maybe historically you have thought there hasn't been.